You finally deleted the number, found peace, and smiled for the first time. That is the exact moment they call. Why? This is the dark psychological paradox of hoovering, a manipulation tactic that ensures why they come back the moment you move on. You know that moment? It's so specific, so jarring. You think, this can't be a coincidence. And you're right, it's not. The timing is so precise because it's a reaction to you, a reaction to your peace, to your freedom, to those first steps you're taking back into your own life. It really can feel like they have some kind of sixth sense, right? Like they just know the exact moment to strike. But here's the thing, it isn't some psychic power. Nope, it's more like a finely tuned predator-prey instinct. So today, we're gonna break down the psychological mechanics behind this whole unnerving paradox and expose exactly why your freedom becomes their emergency signal. Okay, so to really get this, we're gonna deconstruct it in 6 parts. We'll start with the paradox itself, then we'll actually define the tactic they're using, give it a name so we can pick it apart. After that, we'll get to the core of this whole thing, the precise trigger that sets it all in motion. Then we'll look at the motivations on both sides, lay out the single most effective defense, and finally, show you how your silence becomes your greatest power. All right, first things first, let's talk about that comeback paradox. When they just reappear out of nowhere, especially right when you're finally feeling good, it can feel, well, validating. It's easy to think, see, they finally realize what they lost. And look, that's a tempting story, right? Because we all want closure, we want to feel our worth, but we have to reframe this immediately. It's not a compliment, it is a cold, hard calculation. And this calculation has a name. And that name, hoovering, it's perfect, isn't it? It's literally about trying to vacuum you back in, sucking up your attention, your energy, and all that progress you just made, right when you're about to get free. This has nothing to do with love or remorse, it's about retrieval. See, this whole behavior is rooted in a deep-seated fear of abandonment and a powerful need for what's called narcissistic supply. Just think of it like emotional fuel for them. The attention, the drama, even the conflict they get from you, it all props up their incredibly fragile sense of self. When you leave, you don't just end a relationship, you cut off their fuel line, and they will do anything to get it turned back on. So, and this is absolutely crucial. Their return is almost never about making things right. It is a calculated, often desperate mission to retrieve what they see as their property, their source of supply. When you cut them off, you're not just moving on. In their head, you've done something unforgivable. You've defied them, and you've cut off a vital lifeline for their ego. Their reappearance is a response to that self-perceived emergency. It's a mission to reestablish control and just to confirm that they can still get a reaction out of you. And you know what? They use a pretty predictable playbook, and it's always tailored to your specific soft spots. You've got the pity plays, that sudden text about a crisis, a sick parent, a lost job, all designed to pull on your empathy. Then there's baiting, a super vague, low-effort message like thinking of you or a mention of an old inside joke. It's just a probe to see if you'll bite. Of course, there are the grand promises of change, which prey on your hope. And if that doesn't work, they might deploy flying monkeys, using mutual friends, sometimes without them even realizing it, to pass along messages or gather intel, making you feel completely cornered. Okay, so we've named the tactic, but now for the big question, the timing. Why now? Why that exact moment you finally started to feel okay? This, right here, is the core of our explainer. Their return isn't random, it's a direct cause and effect relationship. Your peace is the cause, and their panic is the effect. This isn't about them missing you in a healthy way. It's about them sensing a total loss of their influence. Your emotional independence is the one alarm bell they simply cannot ignore. It's this 3-step loop, and honestly, it's almost mechanical. First, the trigger. You post a happy photo, a friend mentions you're doing great, or maybe you've just gone completely silent, and they can feel it. To a person like this, that's not just you moving on, it's a massive insult. In psychology, it's called a narcissistic injury, a huge blow to their ego that they experience as a threat to their very being. It signals that they've lost control, lost their supply. And that injury immediately kicks off step 2, bait deployment. They send the text, they make the call. Your success becomes their crisis. And that brings us to the third and maybe the most vital part of this whole loop, the re-entanglement. This is where the trap snaps shut. You have to understand this point. It does not matter how you respond. Whether you reply with kindness, asking if they're okay, or with pure anger, telling them to get lost, you've just confirmed the one thing they needed to know. The line is still open. You've shown them they can still get under your skin, that they still have psychological access. Your response, no matter what it is the feedback they need. It tells them their power isn't gone, and that validation is all it takes to stop your healing in its tracks. So you have to ask, why is this so devastatingly effective? Why does it work so often, even on really smart, strong people? Well, it works because it's an unfair fight. It preys on this fundamental conflict of motivations. It's an asymmetrical psychological battlefield, a clash between one person's desperate need to prop up their ego and another person's very human capacity for connection and empathy. And this right here, this lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the manipulator. They're driven by this fragile ego that just cannot handle being forgotten. Their motivation is all about reasserting dominance and calming a deep, pathological fear of being abandoned. And on your side, well, you're vulnerable because of your greatest human strengths, your empathy, your sense of responsibility, your ability to hope. You're a target because you operate from a place of genuine emotion, which makes it incredibly hard to see a calculated performance for what it really is. Now, one of the most powerful psychological tools they have, whether they know the name for it or not, is something called the sunk cost fallacy. Your brain starts going, but I've put in so much time, so much emotion and effort. If I walk away now, was it all for nothing? The manipulator knows this. That grand promise of "I've changed" is bait designed specifically to hook into that feeling. It gives you this tempting illusion that maybe, just maybe, your past investment is finally about to pay off. And that's what pulls you right back into that same painful cycle. Okay, understanding how this all works, the trigger, the hooks, that's step one. That's huge. But knowing isn't enough, right? Knowledge without action is just observation. So now we move from analysis to empowerment. It's time to stop just diagnosing the problem and start actually dismantling the machine. Let's talk about the strategy to protect that peace you've worked so hard for. Look, when you're dealing with this kind of tactic, you might think there are a bunch of options, but there really aren't. You can't reason with it because it's not based on logic. You can't fix the person because their motivation is entirely their own. And you definitely can't negotiate with it because the goal isn't compromise, it's control. There is one countermeasure that is consistently, overwhelmingly effective. It is the only strategy that gets to the root of the problem, their access to you. So here it is, the 3 pillars of your defense system. First, and this is non-negotiable, immediate, complete, no contact. Block the number, the email, all the social media. This isn't about being mean, it's a clinical act of self-preservation. You're cutting off their supply line. It's your primary shield. Second, you have to make a mental shift. Identify the trigger. When they reach out, you tell yourself, this is happening because they feel me getting stronger, not because they love me. Reframe their contact as proof of your progress. And third, if contact is totally unavoidable, like with co-parenting, you use the gray rock technique. You become as boring and unresponsive as a gray rock. Short, factual, emotionless replies. That's it. It denies them the reaction they're looking for and makes you a really unsatisfying target. This right here, this is the thought that completely flips the script. It neutralizes their entire game. You have to internalize this because it's the antidote to all their emotional poison. Every time they try to get in touch, it stops being this confusing, painful thing and instead becomes a simple confirmation of your own progress. Their panic becomes the metric for your healing. Their attempt to manipulate you becomes undeniable proof that you are, in fact, moving on successfully. So all of this, it brings us to the final and I think most empowering conclusion. It's about making that fundamental shift in how you see things. It's about recognizing that the power dynamic you thought was real, the one where you felt helpless and they held all the cards, was never real to begin with. It was an illusion. The real power was never in their hands. So let's just put a bow on this because this is what you really need to walk away with. Remember, hoovering is simply the abuser's desperate, predictable response to the threat of your autonomy. The pattern is so clear once you see it. Your independence triggers their narcissistic injury, which then prompts them to deploy the bait to reestablish control. But here's the beautiful part. Awareness breaks this loop. Once you can see the machinery, once you see the gears turning, you can no longer get caught in them. In the end, their return isn't a sign of your value. It's a sign of their panic. It's the last gasp of a manipulator trying to prove they still own a piece of your emotional real estate. By maintaining absolute no contact, by choosing silence, you're not being passive. You are actively performing a controlled demolition of that connection. You're cutting off their fuel source and letting their manufactured crisis burn itself out. You are proving that your silence is an emptiness. It is, and it always was, your power.